It is not his natural habitat. He is confused by the exactitude with which has marked the ground and space around him. What was once organic is now precise. What was once the domain of nature now has the signature of reason, or some semblance of reason. How is he to reconcile with the grid? We can see he makes his way around the grid. He has to be obedient to its rules. The ways of the pigeon are negated here. No longer is he at his own disposal, but now at the whim of a plotted landscape. Ah! It looks as though our protagonist has been joined by another intrepid explorer. We can see the two communicating with one another. What might they be saying to each other?
What is this?
I don't know. It looks like lines hobbled together.
No shit. But why is it here? Who did this?
Maybe another creature made it, but I could tell you this. It's not natural. It's not natural at all. And just seeing it, I can't help but follow it. It doesn't feel right, but I'm not overly offended by it.
So you're just a little offended by it?
I'm just only slightly.
Whoa, wait. What happened here?
Good question. This just came out of nowhere. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, I've never seen anything like this before. This is weird.
I know what you're saying. It's weird, that's for sure. Do you think these marks are evenly spaced?
I don't know. What do you think?
Let me see. Okay.
What?
Well, what does this all mean? What is this thing?
Hell, I'm just as confused as you are.
Horse?
Yeah?
Stand on that intersection of lines there. And squirrel?
Uh-huh.
Stand on that one. I'll stand here.
It looks like the animals are counting the spacing of the grid. Their steps are methodical as they count the distances between the nodes. Their paces wont to be receptive to the existing topography of the space are now being governed by the dimensions of the grid. It's funny, isn't it? The mathematical principles of the grid, which are rooted in reason and the aims of simplifying, are placing our protagonists in a bit of a... What do they know of an architect's intended dimensions? What are they able to discern? What do these dimensions, otherwise abstract constructions, mean to them?
I can tell you both that distance between these points in either direction is 3 paces.
3 paces? 3 bird paces? Do you even pace?
Yes, 3 bird paces. 1 horse gallop or 2 squirrel leaps. It's the same between all of these points. It's fairly precise. And whoever did it, they did it with intention. Whatever their intention is, I don't know, but here it is on the place we call home.
They're obeying its rules. This is truly remarkable. I, in my many years of doing this, have seen the moment when creatures, novice to form, take to it like a fish takes to water. My God! Let's look at this for a minute and marvel in its beauty. They're now trying to understand themselves in relation to the grid. We can trying to conduct themselves with the lines of the plane. My God, they are taking to the grid.
Existed 150 years, and this is her level of achievement. We have existed not quite 42 years, and 7 years from now we will be on the same level of achievement as America.
He tried to create, the model of the communism and the model probably of ideal style of life, which include the normal apartment in story residential block, then a country house which were called dacha.
Yes.
Yes, on small plot of land, and then yes, of course, yes, and then a small car, and then a small car as well. And by the way, American car was the most attractive part of the exhibited samples.
Right.
And yes, and different subjects on the exhibition of 1959. I remember it. Not even American kitchen, nothing like that, but cars. It was so impressive. Yes, huge, big, flat American cars of all the companies, General Motors, Ford, and yeah, with wonderful catalogs, with wonderful printing materials. Why?
Because there were cars on Soviet Union, right? I mean, there were Volga was already, or no?
Yes, but it was absolutely just unacceptable. It wasn't popular product. It was just a luxury.
The inherent properties of the grid enable it to be a mechanization of space that produces efficiency. It is the efficiency of the grid that allows for the liberation of individuals and collectives. Out of efficiency comes leisure, and out of leisure comes intellectual productivity. The ability to develop oneself in an unalienated manner allows for the advancement of one's own animus. With one's animus developing unfettered, he or she can grow in ways never thought possible before. It is the development that fosters new thinking, new doing, new being. In the time before this grid, society was hamstrung by the limitations imposed by the status quo of a non-modern society. It was a society that was stagnant. The grid provides for growth as it is able to minimize stagnation through the development and cultivation of consciousness. But how has the grid helped our friends? Some time has now passed. The pigeon, the squirrel, and the horse have adapted to the demands of the grid. How have they met the demands of the grid, you may ask? Some might call it acquiescence, but those are naysayers. They are the possibility that the grid can be a tool, no, a space, or even a place for improvement. It is a place for liberation. Just look at how not only the grid is efficient, but moreover, they are free. The pigeon is able to develop the thorough understanding of the ground. The squirrel, who is often wont to lose the acorns she buried the previous fall, can now locate them using the coordinates of the grid. And the horse, A beast whose staggering speed would often go unnoticed by his peers, can now be quantified because of the grid's metrics. But how are their lives improving because of the grid? How are they more in touch with who they are? How is the grid allowing each of them to be better in touch with their own animus? Let us look at each individually and see. We see the squirrel has survived the winter and looks healthier than ever. In being able to store her provisions for the winter and have them spaced out accordingly. Not a day went by where she was unfed. And now in the spring, she has the health to pursue activities that otherwise would not have availed themselves. What is she doing now? Is she learning how to cook acorns? It appears that the squirrel, with her newfound free time, has taken up the culinary arts. For a squirrel who normally subsists on a diet of subsistence harvesting, to start cooking is akin to crossing the Rubicon. Once the step has been made to consciously produce food with taste and identity, the squirrel has become more advanced. And the pigeon, a bird who we associate with pecking crumbs off the street, mulling about in irrational paths, loitering and defacing all that is around him. What has the grid done for him? He now walks with precision and purpose. No longer does he walk about in circles, bobbing his head this way and that without reason. He now has reason, and reason drives him. Do you hear that? No, it is not cooing. Cooing has been replaced with the complexities of overlaid chords and progressions that speak to an elevated mindset. With determinism about him, the pigeon no longer walks aimlessly around the town plaza, worrying himself about which turn to take. Rather, the grid now makes it possible for him to think deeply about matters that mean much to him. His manic walking is no more, and his vacuous thoughts have gone the same way. What is he thinking about these days? He is thinking about how much life has improved because of the grid. He now understands why his life is now the way it is, and how it has improved by leaps and bounds since the days before the arrival of the grid. When he is not pacing, mulling over ideas in his head, he writes feverishly in between the lines of the grid. Life before the grid was one of estrangement. We could not aspire to be the creatures we are today. In a pre-grid society, we were animal. We were subject to primal desires that made survival the central concerns of our lives. We lived day to day, scouring the earth for sustenance. In doing so, our ability to think about what is around us was curtailed by the need to survive. But here we are now. We are not advancing creatures. We are growing. The grid is making a complex and enriching life possible. The grid liberates us and enriches us. We can see how, through rationality, humans have grown into more complex beings. But how's it going for the horse? It looks like the horse is training to become a serious athlete. Every day he now times himself using the grid as his measure of distance and time. No longer is he plodding around, chewing grass and swatting flies, but now he is a bona fide athlete, training for the next race. And as he runs, he not only thinks intently about every stride he takes, but he also reflects intently on his present condition. What are his thoughts? With more oxygen rushing to his brain, his ideas concerning his corporeal existence are rich. On the grid, they can grow fully and richly.
This is where the story of appropriated architecture in America begins. Identity and form.
We tried to integrate it into the room and make it seem like an art piece.
Radically democratic.
Ways that we didn't think were appropriate, like they started to sit on it.
Step outside of the white cube and take the art to the people.
The people who we had over, they didn't see it as this precious object the way that we did.
Latent potential of the subject.
Sort of sat in a corner and we talked about it every once in a while.
Each rework the pieces.
You could say the piece is evolving.
To conserve the discipline rather than to preserve it, say.
No. This isn't right. This just isn't right at all. I've had it up to here.
What's the matter, Pigeon? Are you still flustered by the grid?
Yes. It's become my preoccupation ever since I reread that essay I penned. What I wrote unsettles me as I just don't agree with the word I wrote.
Come on. You're enjoying yourself, yet want us to think you're doubting your own work. Admit it. What else would you be doing? Shitting errantly across the field?
I wouldn't mind it. It's one of the few things I can do freely anymore.
Then just do it. What's holding you back?
I need some acorns.
Why?
To make me shit. On the grid. I have to break it up somehow.
No, I am not going to give you food just so you can deface this place.
I don't think you understand. We're captive here.
No, I do understand. Our lives have gotten better. You can't deny that. Even if we are captive, we're living better lives than we did before. Look at us. We're better fed. We're able to have time to reflect and enjoy ourselves. We didn't have that opportunity before.
Yeah, but don't you think we're becoming defined by our new condition? Don't you think that we're being told how to act by this environment?
I think that's a bit presumptuous of you. How do you know how to make such a distinction? Are any of us able to make that sort of comment?
Yeah, exactly. How are we able to say that our current condition is any less good for us than what we had before? I mean, here we are, having this conversation. Would we have had this conversation before we came here?
But don't you guys find the rhythm of the grid stifling? Don't you find its precision to be maddening?
No.
Nope, not at all.
Not one bit. You don't feel suffocated or even to an extent guided by this space?
I mean...
What do you mean guided?
Like, we're always in some sort of dialogue with the grid. We're always in relation to it.
Yeah, and your point is?
Well, we're not acting on our own.
But were we before? Acting in relation to a different condition before we got here?
How do you mean?
I mean, we were living elsewhere before. Elsewhere had its own identity. It had its own reality.
Now we're getting into some seriously meta shit.
You know what I mean.
I do, but we might be overthinking how we related to our space.
Is that a bad thing?
Is it productive?
To overthink a relation to where we are?
Yeah. By becoming too involved with this stuff, we might be losing our ability to just be happy here.
But I don't think you're getting my point.
And your point is?
That we're being too defined by this grid. Can't you see how we're arguing over the most trivial things?
So what? How is this any worse than before?
Because our lives are easier now. We can do more things than we could before. One of which things is think more. We have idle time. And with this idle time, we can think about things we thought were once trivial, but are now front and center in our lives. This idea of estrangement, something I'm sure we would have just months ago said was stupid, is real for us. Guys, we've changed. The space around us has changed us.
How? How has it changed us? Show me some...
Okay. What do you plan on making tonight for dinner?
I was thinking of doing a risotto with a red wine with acorn tapenade. Fuck.
Damn that.
It does. But did you make that sort of dish before we got here?
I can't say that I ever did. This is a fairly new thing.
Exactly. This grid is trying to domesticate. Well, maybe not trying, but did. We're domesticated. Whoever did this, they domesticated us.
But what's the problem with being domesticated? Do you think that this is a bad thing?
I don't think that it's necessarily bad. Be aware of what it's doing to us.
But what are we going to do? We can't just change up the space.
Horse is right. How are we able to drastically alter the space so that we're the ones who are domesticating the space to our logics and beliefs? And who are we to do this? We're just fucking wildlife.
I don't think being wildlife makes us any less capable. I mean, here we are discussing these ideas. We know that it's possible, but we just have to do it. Plus, we're no longer wild.
I don't know, Pigeon. This sounds like it's going to be more of a hassle than it's worth. I'm happy with where we are.
This is delicious, squirrel.
Why, thank you. It took me some time to find the sorrel, but I think it was worth it.
Absolutely. It really adds that bit of bite at the end. Perfect.
Where'd you say you found it?
The sorrel? Oh, paces up grid and then 300 to the left.
Wait, where?
200 paces up grid and then 300 to the left.
That's not a place. That's a coordinate. Where did you find it?
Like I said, 200 paces up grid and 300 to the left.
No. Where did you find it?
I told you.
Forget it.
Just chill out, Pigeon.
Chill out? How am I supposed to chill? I can't get any straight answers. Why do our lives have to be abstracted in such a way?
Lighten up, dude. Between this abstraction and not being able to stay true to ourselves, you've got some issues with where we live.
Sure. I have to do something about it.
Looks like he's hovering 367, no?
Yeah, I think he's going up grid now. Hopefully he'll calm down after this.
I'm gonna join him.
What?
Yeah.
I don't think this will work.
I will promise you that every word that you have said here will be recorded in the United States. They will see you say it on television.
First of all, you remind me that the exhibition, American exhibition of 1959, was just not a separate event. It was part of a great program, part of a big program of cultural exchange between Russia and the United States, which included, as I remember, several points, such as regular magazine.
Right.
Yeah, America.
That was the name of the magazine.
Yes. Which probably was long again. I say again because after war period, probably, I'm not sure, but it seems to me that after the war, within the program of Lend-Lease, we had an exchange of publications. I mean, both countries.
Right.
Yes, and then in Khrushchev period in mid-50s, we began to receive American magazines, which were definitely very popular.
Right.
And then this American exhibition of 1959 wasn't just a single event. Yes, which was attended by Venturi. I remember I met him there, and maybe Louis Kahn. Louis Kahn, he visited Moscow too, but I don't remember exactly either it was in that particular moment of the architectural exhibition or it was something separate. But I remember very good his visit to Mosprojekt, where I was, and I had just a book with his signature, which he gave to to me, my colleague.
Are we getting anywhere?
I don't know, Pigeon. I mean, I've trampled the grass a bit. Look!
Yeah, that was good.
Fuck.
What else can we do? My shitting randomly hasn't done so much. And galloping and trampling has gotten us anywhere productive, has it?
Nope. I'm running out of ideas. Anything we do is short-lived or just plain stupid.
Yeah, we're running out of possibilities. It sucks having a bird brain.
No shit.
You're both pathetic.
Come on, Squirrel. You know that we're trying to be ourselves here.
Well, it's difficult when you're always staring down the... It just stares at you. You can't help but stare at it. It's just so there.
Show some resolve. Look, I don't know about this whole revolting against the grid, but you're not thinking creatively here.
What do you mean? We're doing what we do. I gallop, Pigeon flies.
Okay, but what are you doing with those things? Furthermore, how are they permanent?
Permanent? Why does that matter?
Is this grid permanent?
Yes.
Yeah?
Are trampling grasses or flying permanent?
No.
Nope.
So
maybe do something permanent.
Okay. But how do you propose we go about doing that?
I can only things.
Maybe your shitting isn't the answer.
So what do you say we do then?
That's for you to figure out. If you want to make the change, you have to figure out what that change is. I'm happy with what we have. I don't want to upset the order.
Pigeon, I can't do any more right now. I'm going to nap.
Just think about it, Pigeon. Give it some thought. I'm off to gather ingredients for tonight's dinner. How do you feel about roasted beets and avocados?
Perfect.
Fantastic. I'll see you this evening.
If you want to make the change, you have to figure out what that change is. What does she mean? Doesn't make too much sense. It's one of those vague statements that really is only there to placate and soothe somebody while in a moment of uncertainty that finds itself greeting card, not an existential crisis of identity in the environment one finds themselves in presently. When I fly around without purpose, I'm still in relation to this fucking grid. It's always there. I can't escape it. It's there. It goes on forever. I always know where I am. It's maddening. It's depressing. I don't know how I can shape it or make it different or so that I'm not controlled by it. What am I, a pigeon, to do? I fly. I'm a fucking bird. I live to fly. It should make me free. It's a monster, really. It's inhospitable, but it's all that we have. It's limiting, it's monotonous, it's just one line after another.
I mean, sure. I get why you say it's so monotonous, but you have to admit, it looks pretty good.
No, it looks bad. You're just being too kind.
So you hate it.
Hate is a strong word, but yes.
And you find that its monotony can't be altered?
Nope, we tried. Horace and I tried for a long time. We failed over and over.
Sunny weather we have today.
Yeah, what about it?
You ever, look at the shadows?
No.
Go on, come on, fly up to where my head is.
No.
It was literally growing beneath you. You never stopped to notice.
I don't believe it. Squirrel said it would be something permanent that would subvert the physicality of the grid. This can't be. I have to tell the others.
This is amazing, simply amazing. But what does this mean for us? And why? Why did this happen?
I think it was the acorns you used for cooking. It appears that a few got loose, and well, we have a forest now.
If we could do this with acorns, what could we do more deliberately? Squirrel, you were the one who said that the change had to be more permanent. Well, look!
I didn't say it, but this is what I meant. With the grid, we know what it is, and now we know how to change it. We can make it our own.
Let's have a far more communication and exchange in this very area. We should hear you more on our television. You should hear us more on yours.
And
it was normal to have such a big
it was
crowd.
normal, yes, it was quite normal. And it was very, very exciting period when Russia was opening to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world came to Russia. Rest of the world, yes. And American exhibition was one among the several exhibitions of our neighbors, first of all, but of course, you know, the most remarkable, the greatest one, the biggest one, and the most, how to say it, impressive, probably.
And what do you argue?
The exhibition was of course, you know, architecture.
Yes.
Because Americans, they brought not only some I don't know, samples, products, among which cars were, you know, just more attractive, but also architecture, modern architecture. Architecture and flexible architecture. Just a totally new approach, and yes, and it was definitely, you know, very, very impressive.
And I mean, were you already a practicing architect then, or were you?
No. That moment I graduated the secondary school. I was 16, seems to me, So it means that it was just nothing for us to visit it several times and to stay in this line.
Right.
And in a good company, right, in a good company, and to try Pepsi Cola.
Pepsi Cola, yes.
Yes, and to collect all the printing materials with luxury American cars. So it was very, very exciting.
It was like a daily activity for
yes, and then what can I say? Some of us were more or less prepared. So I can't say
what
that
do you
it was.
mean by that?
Yes, it was a cultural shock for me. No, but for just regular Russians and Muscovites, it was very, very impressive.
It has been some time since we have last seen our friends, but it looks as though life has continued to improve for them. The squirrel's accidental spilling of acorns on the ground proved to be a boon for the animals in that the rigidity of the grid, while it made them more aware of their corporeal existence, was challenged by their ability to plasticize the supposedly strict formalism that surrounded them. Having realized what permanence means as a method of subversion, the animals have embarked on making the area around the grid more hospitable to them. One way this has been accomplished is by the arrival of furniture. They use the furniture not only as objects to use, but also as a means to start shaping the space around them. The pieces of furniture become agents of the animals in asserting their will. They also look pretty in the setting, but we also see the animals using the trees as a means to construct rooms, using tarpaulins and other sorts of. They use errant qualities of the trees as a means to start constructing rooms. Now, one might ask how this is different from their prior conditions. And suffice to say, the grid was able to stir their conscience. It made them exponentially more aware of their surroundings and their place in it. But what we wait to see is how asserting oneself in this environment leads to more growth.
The shade is lovely. It really does help on a hot day like today.
Absolutely. And it's amazing how these panels we erected help to channel the cool forest breeze coming from the upper coordinates.
Totally. It's nice knowing that the existential stress that I had before is no longer. Well, I'm still aware of it in the grid, but my anxiety about its ability to fully control me are a hell of a lot smaller than they were before.
Pigeon, we're glad that you've chilled a bit.
But Horse, how are you faring with all this? How do you handle your running regiment?
You ever heard of trail running?
No.
Well, it's like sprinting, except you do it on a wooded course. It's so much nicer than racing on a track. You get a change of scenery with every stride, and I'm still able to use the grid as a means to keep track of my distance and time. But more importantly, it's a lot more relaxing.
I'm glad to hear that, but does it make you feel better? I mean, is it even better than before?
I'll demonstrate.
Well, that certainly was interesting. But I'm still trying to figure out how this has been better for me. I mean, I'm happier, but at the same time, I do feel more in control, and that freaks me out a bit. I'm now so much more responsible for my actions than I did before the acorn trees came.
What?
Yeah, what indeed? Explain what you mean.
Well, seeing that I know I can make some sort of difference here, one that is real and permanent, I know that my actions carry a lot more weight than they did before. That scares me. It scares me knowing that if I fuck up, there's an onus upon me no matter what.
Yes, that's true. But now it's responsibility that is yours, and that has a mark and presence of ownership. It is a mark of you being you. Now it has a physical identity.
Do you want to say that in plain English, Pigeon?
Sorry, you're right. What I mean is, you can be yourself without having a space around you dictate who you are. You can now play tug-of-war with the grid.
That's all nice, but it scares me.
Maybe fear is good. Fear means you care about the situation and you're in light of it. You're now active in the situation. The decisions you make can affect some level of change.
That's some deep shit there, Squirrel. Believe me, I'm scared yet optimistic about what can happen here. I think we have to continue being headstrong here. I think we have to go with our gut instincts.
Yes, because our gut is in our head.
For some animals, that's really true.
Yes. But what I'm saying is that sometimes we can doubt ourselves. The grid made us doubt ourselves because we couldn't overpower it on our own. However, since our inadvertent planting of all these trees, the situation has changed. We can risk to take challenges.
So you're saying, what's the worst that could happen?
Essentially.
So, does this mean to be free, we have to be able to take risks?
Yes. You could say it that way. Just look at a horse over there, still galloping all over the place. He's risking his sanity. Or rather, he's not letting things get in his way. He's exploring.
But when we construct these spaces with this cloth, we're risking ourselves.
I don't get it. Why?
Because it isn't natural.
But we're no longer natural. We've changed. We're now in control of ourselves. We don't have any natural being anymore. He's running for enjoyment and health.
But we don't know what we're doing.
Exactly. We're experimenting. I'm not constructing nests like other pigeons would do. You're not eating acorns as other squirrels would do. Giraffe, you're quite literally on the wrong continent, so that's something right there. And then we have a horse who seriously is in need of education. We have to forge new grounds.
So what do?
We make our own world for us. We're in charge now.
And so, our animals embark on making their own world. It will not be easy, but life thinking of the grid. There will be easy days for our protagonists, and there will surely be hard days. But what we can say is that through their subversion of a built environment, they have taken ownership of the space and have redirected its teleology for their betterment.